throwing him in, he can help that too.
We are live. Welcome to the GameDay Huddle. No Godfather Jimmy. Dave, I think we may just need to change the intro. I think we just need to add Warehouse Dave, remove Jimmy.
Nah.
Jimmy's not here anymore. I'm not sure. No, Jimmy has some things going on. So, Warehouse Boys Dave in the building. Of course, Jay Up is here, being dumbfounded by social media.
Can we have Jimmy back when Judge signs with anybody but the Yankees, or no?
Well, that'll be a great show.
It's gonna be an interesting.
I hope it happens on a Monday, like at 2:00. That was
so it's fresh.
So happy. Oh, I would be so happy.
He wants it so fresh.
Yes.
Well,
I want raw emotion.
we're kicking off the program. Breaking news today. Breaking news. Baker Mayfield released by the Panthers. That is breaking news, but let's just go right into over-under, which is where we talk about the weekend. This is breaking news for today. Baker Mayfield being released.
He underwhelmed the Panthers.
He did, and what's funny about that is the guy that kind of pushed him out of town, Sam Bradford. Sam Bradford's the guy that pushed him out of town.
Why?
Because Bradford was getting the start instead of him.
Darnold.
Darnold. Why did I say Bradford?
I thought you had a juicy story.
Oh my gosh! Whoa! I'm just thinking Sam, dude. I'm just thinking Sam.
Well, no,
why did I say Bradford? This is what I would do, though.
I thought you had a juicy story that you were going to make us with.
Sorry, Sam Darnold pushes him out with getting the start.
Okay.
That was a great thing.
I feel like I was keeping a straight face, too. It's still Sam Bradford. He gets pushed out because of that. Is it Baker asking for a release? Is it the team releasing him?
It's not Baker asking for a release. He's probably going to pass through waivers because anybody that picks him up on waivers is on the hook for the $1.3 million they're still owed. Right. There's nowhere that I can see where he's going to just jump right in and start. Obviously, the possibility of San Fran, but I think that they would rather roll with Brock Purdy and Josh Johnson at this point than bring in Baker Mayfield. Wouldn't that be a real kick in the pants of Christian McCaffrey? Like, he thought he finally got away from Baker Mayfield and Baker signs in San Fran.
Baker back.
Yeah. He's got to be like, please no, please
Well,
no.
here's the reason we're talking about San Fran.
To keep an eye on. This is after Jimmy Garoppolo was sacked at the end of the last drive in a lot of pain. Coaching staff, some of the training staff over there taking a look at him. That left ankle gets rolled up on, and Garoppolo off on a cart.
So Jimmy Garoppolo goes down. Now San Francisco has two starting quarterbacks out, both with foot and ankle breaks out for the season.
You think that everybody's just going, well, what else is new? Like, he's always injured. The guy is the most injured-prone human being ever.
Yeah, but it looked kind of nasty. Like, there's nothing you can do about that.
I'm not saying it's his fault.
Well,
He's injured.
I'll tell you whose fault that was.
I didn't say he's Chevy Chase falling off ladders and stuff. Like
that offensive play call. There was nobody who blocked the corner blitzer for the Dolphins. So Jimmy was already taken like 10 yards back and then being manhandled, and then the party shows up.
I mean, the Niners got them back because they hurt Tua.
They did. They did. He had that.
Day of the quarterback.
Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant,
Looked good.
comes in and looked every bit of an NFL starting quarterback.
Yeah. It was weird to me to watch him just march them down the field, and I know what they say is that, there's no tape on him. There's no tape on him.
Yeah,
but he still had to come in, and fight off nerves and go out there. Like, you're in a game against, you're not playing like the bottom barrel of the
right.
league. Like, you're playing a very good team who's currently in the playoff mix in the AFC. So you're coming into a situation where it's not a must win, but you kind of needed to win that game.
Mm-hmm.
So I commend him. I thought he played really well.
I did too. I didn't know he was Mr. Irrelevant until
He was the very last pick of the draft.
That's great. Then I go back and look, and you start
That's
seeing
why
it, and you're like, oh, Iowa. You start seeing, everything, and you start looking at highlights of it. And
they carried him as the third quarterback.
I think it was good for him to be at home yesterday.
Yeah.
That was very
Definitely.
good. It's a good.
Oh, for
you'd be
sure.
in a controlled
It's-
environment. If that was somewhere else, who knows how
Not
his
being
nerve
able to
be,
hear
but-
would have been
right.
a huge.
When he threw that
huge
with his
issue.
first touchdown pass to McCaffrey, he went nuts, man. That was cool to see.
Yeah.
Mr.
It was a
Irrelevant.
bullet.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, he fired that thing like
Yeah.
6 yards away. Like, he fired that thing. Like, Chris McCaffrey had no choice but to catch it. I think it was
Stuck to
inserted
him,
in
right.
his,
It was just
his
going to
ribs.
stick to him.
Mhm.
You've got these injuries that are going on. So
Yeah.
obviously, 49ers pull off the game. Tua gets nicked up. We'll see what happens with him this week. Obviously, he's been injured on and off the field all season. When he's on the field, they're a different animal. When he's not on the field, they're not all together. It's just kind of how they're laid out. They are 100% going on Tua.
Yeah.
That offense moves around Tua, and that's really what they're doing.
I think that's the way you have to do it, though. gotta be
Another
all in.
Well, and another player, the
Yeah.
same thing. Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson goes down yesterday, knee injury. They don't say it's season ending, but they're saying it's
Days
week
to
to
weeks.
week, right?
Days to weeks.
Again, whenever you start these guys that are reliant on moving the pocket,
Right.
constantly moving, throwing off the back foot, all of these things, you start worrying about these quarterbacks. You have Justin Fields got hurt. I mean, Trey Lance went down. Jimmy G goes down. These are all guys that move the pocket. These are not
Jalen
guys.
Hurts doesn't, though. Jalen Hurts never.
Jalen Hurts has been an absolute animal, and
Right.
Pretty good.
Jalen Hurts also is not trying to do something extra. If you go to sack him, he just falls down. If he runs, he slides 5 yards away.
Yeah, I've
Like-
always said that about Lamar Jackson is that not that he's looking for contact, but he never ever shies away from it. And
Yeah.
I thought he would get injured sooner. Not that I would wish that upon him. I'm just
Yeah.
saying that the way
The way
he
he
kind of
runs.
plays,
Yeah.
I was like, this guy's gonna get hurt.
Mhm.
Like I thought he'd get hurt more often, to be honest with you. Like I'm not surprised that he got hurt, but
And in this game, when he got hurt, it was early.
Mhm.
They should have lost this game. The Broncos showed up and did exactly what the Broncos do.
Yeah.
Miss a ridiculously long field goal. There's no reason they should have. The play calling before it was I go on. It's just me bad. Another week of Hackett.
they're
Like,
not gonna fire him till the end of the season. Though.
Well, at this point, that's obvious. But good lord, I mean, all I had to do was watch a quarter. I didn't have to watch a season. I only needed a quarter to know.
Yeah, I saw jokes on the internet last night too that said that Dallas scored more in the fourth quarter than the Broncos have all year.
Yeah,
It's
it's pretty bad.
It's every Broncos game that's on TV is like horrible to watch. I can't even sit through a whole Broncos
Yeah.
game. It's so
and the
bad.
media
It's
let
so-
Russ cook. I mean, there's
Yeah.
just
It's so bad.
they love busting his balls.
I think
man.
their favorite is Broncos country, but that's a whole
Yeah.
another. We're gonna get in. Normally, we would say plus or minus for towards the end of the show.
Yeah.
But this actually kind of hits on what we want to have a topic about today. So, in plus or minus this week, I really want to talk about these injuries, your collection, and how this is kind of affecting it. So, when guys go down, like when Trey Lance went down, you saw a steep decline in his market immediately. But it's an injury that, like, he will come back next year too. So at that time, we're like, hold. A lot of these guys are going to be holds. Some of these guys, this injury might be the injury that doesn't let them bounce back. Jimmy Garoppolo is one of them. No matter what Jimmy G does now, he's coming into the situation again next year he was in this year.
Mhm.
That's immediately what it is.
Yeah.
He's immediately turning around. It's going to be Trey Lance's team. They're not trading him to another team.
Right.
Because he's coming back off an injury again. So if you got Jimmy G in your collection, if you can move him, you can trade him, you can get him off your hands. This or going into the beginning of next season might be your only opportunities to. If there's maybe some, he'll be back before. Or
He's ruled
whatever.
out for the
Lance
year
just
already,
went-
right?
And they said ruled
he's
out for the year.
He's out for the year.
So
Last night they did.
Yeah.
again, you have to look at these situations. So obviously, Jimmy Garoppolo, I think the potential of if they had made the playoffs and he wins a couple playoff games,
Yep.
you would have saw his stock rise. But unfortunately, it's not. I'll flip, and let's talk about Brock Purdy. Everybody's out trying to buy Brock Purdy today. There's not a lot out there for him.
Good luck buying it because
There's not a
Slim
lot,
pickings out
right?
there.
There's very, very little product out there for him. The stuff that's out there isn't great. Black is nice, but outside of that, there's not a lot of product out there that's really good. He was Mr. Irrelevant. You're going to need him to win in the playoffs for whatever you buy now to be worth anything more than what you're paying now. So unless you're digging through some 22 product, you ripped draft and you've got, some Brock Purdy parallels and you're moving them now,
right?
Or you're going to sit and see if he wins a couple of games, you're not going to have much of a opportunity for spike in the market with him. Tua's interesting because Tua getting hurt again is going to start to shy collectors a little bit.
How long is Tua out for?
So
say
they think he'll be back this next week. They think
he's going to be back next week.
He's always going to get kind of banged up. He's just.
I know, but the problem is that every time these guys get hurt, it's going to scare the market a little bit. And then they lose a game, which isn't going to help the big things you need, the potential MVP talks or whatever it is, right? Those aren't going to hurt when help when a guy gets hurt.
Right.
So, again, Tua's one of those ones that at this point, if you're stacking up Tua because you're thinking, if he maybe he's in the MVP talk or maybe he's a guy that gets a deep playoff run, I think at this point you probably are better off selling Tua now rather than waiting. Whereas normally I tell you to wait. It's not safe.
I don't think it is either because the guy gets hurt a lot, and one of these times is going to be one of those injuries that he's going to have a tough time coming back from. And unfortunately, I like watching the guy play. He's very accurate. I think they have a good team in Miami. But one of these times he's going to get hit and he's not going to come back up. I feel like he's had all these major, the hip injury that sidelined him for a long time, and then the concussions and the almost back-to-back weeks. It's just, I don't know. He kind of scares me off too.
And we've got other guys. We got Justin Fields is hurt right now, right?
Yeah, Tua, I'm not going to sell right away.
Right.
I sell too much of Tua. I wouldn't sell too much.
My thing is that if you hold at this point,
what if he goes to the playoffs and wins an away game?
It's not going to be enough of a spike for that. I don't think
his stuff's going to go up that much anymore.
He would have to go a Joe Burrow run like last year.
Why not?
For that to happen.
Well,
I don't know.
If it does, and you lose out on all that money, I mean, how much did you buy? You have to look at what you bought the card for,
the problem
how much you're into it, and what you're going to get now, and what's the worst could happen. Because even when Tua was hurt before the season and was kind of not playing good until he started to, it wasn't terrible, the prices, because everybody still has that potential. But
Tua really has not had that spike, and that spike isn't there because
between week 3 and 6
he had a little bit of a spike, but it was not transcendent spike that you would see in other product. I think that at this point with Tua, I don't know if you can really bank on a big gain long term.
Correct.
Whereas when I mentioned Justin Fields is hurt. He's back, but he's still hurt. Mm. And if I know anything about that separated shoulder, non-throwing shoulder, we saw what happened with Baker Mayfield and how hard it was for him to actually be successful on the field.
But he kind of sucked before the shoulder surgery.
It's nice, but what I'm saying is it's nice that the guy goes out and puts in his all, and he's a gamer, and he's being tough, and wins the locker room and all that stuff. That's great for Justin Fields. And I'm on the flip side with him, which is I think that Justin Fields right now, you could still buy. Because people are a little shy because he's hurt, and I think this injury comes back from, and I think he's going to play well, and I think they've got some draft picks coming up, and they got some opportunity to do some things. Yeah. So we'll see what they do in the offseason. They look like they're going to build around him. Yeah. To me, it's a little, whereas the Tua thing is just kind of scary. You got Matthew Stafford that's hurt. Obviously, his prices of his stuff already kind of showed you what it might potentially do, which wasn't great.
Yeah, he won the Super Bowl.
And didn't really spike crazy.
He's not a flashy quarterback. That's what people want, flash. It has nothing to do with really talent anymore. It's not saying the card world doesn't.
Right.
You mean tell me Larry Bird cards and you got Tim Duncan cards are going less than LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball hasn't done jack shit in his career, really. Yeah. And his cards, it's all about flash. Same thing with baseball.
It is.
You get hitters, pitchers, catchers suck. Quarterbacks always can spike at any time. You never know. All of a sudden, people want to buy Sam Ellinger, buy Mike White, buy this guy. Because when they have an opportunity, you want to buy it.
Those spikes on those guys, the Purdys, the Ellingers, the spikes on those guys are because people are digging them out of the common boxes.
Correct.
Not because
but quarterback can spike easier than any other position.
Right, but not that they bought to invest. When you're talking about like a Tua that you bought to invest, I just don't see there being this big capital gain at this point because the guys that would be buying it, they're going to be a little gun-shy on it. And I just say, if you have an opportunity to sell at this point and you are looking to sell, probably should, instead of saying I'm going to hold off and wait, because I don't know if it's going to be that much more of a difference. It could be. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'll come back on this one and say, I don't know if the hobby is going to respond that way.
He would need to win the Super Bowl.
I don't think they will. Guys that are having a little bit of a tough time in the hobby and on the field, Justin Herbert. Herbert's getting knocked to the hobby a little bit. You're seeing a lot of grumblings about him. Honestly, I'm a Chargers fan. You guys know this. I was at the game yesterday. That offensive line has been hurt. We've talked about how the starting left side was been out most of the season. Mm-hmm. You go down the list, they've got guys that are second, third, fourth, and fifth off the depth chart coming in and playing on that line. And that line was absolutely overwhelmed yesterday. What you see here with Justin Herbert is what the game was all day yesterday.
But
there was two Raiders in the backfield.
Yeah, but the Raiders still have one of the best defensive lines in football.
I get that,
Yeah.
but you
And
can't
they're
lose
deep.
that game. You start off the game 10-0. You got a pick six right at the very beginning of the game. You start off 10-0, and then you just couldn't put anything together. Like I get that Mike Williams is hurt as well, but like they have a good offense, and I know their offensive line is not good, but you have to adapt.
I can tell you two things too, just being there. One, Keenan Allen's not healthy. He's healthy enough to be on the field. He's not healthy enough to be a game changer. He could not separate at all yesterday.
Right.
Couldn't separate at all.
Made
He's
me
getting
some money,
old.
though.
Right.
That catch in the end zone?
Yeah.
Man, I had Chargers freaking +8 on a teaser, and I needed it for like an 8-team teaser. And we were standing in there. He threw that pass. I was like...
And the thing is, he's just not separating. And then... I don't know what they did with Austin Eckler in the first half yesterday, but it was literally like he was not part of the game plan at all. He wasn't on the field for he wasn't on the field for half the stuff. And then Josh Palmer, he's a big part of the game plan right now. They're getting him the ball, and he just doesn't turn upfield. He just runs laterally. And
Eckler
his
only
thing
had
is
10 rushes.
Right.
But he also fumbled too.
He did, but the thing was like,
Jesus, the guy's the hottest running back besides Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, and I just when you looked at the game, when I looked at it, like I said, probably the third possession. Mm-hmm. I told people, I said, the Chargers cannot stop this pass rush. The Chargers are not going to put up points in the second half. And that's exactly what happened. They couldn't move the ball like they did. And then when they finally decided to start trying to move the ball, there were swing passes, there were shovel passes to Eckler, doing some runs, opening it up a little bit, making the Raiders have to go to the outside instead of in.
Right.
And once they did that, they started to open it up a little bit, but it was too late.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They should have made a difference earlier because you knew the writings on the wall. You saw your offensive lines all banged up, so like you have to adapt. You have to like change the playbook a little bit.
All right.
Stop going for the bombs and start going for like the slants and the more like
get it out of his hand quick.
Yeah,
he got sacked 5 times.
They had to.
That's a lot.
And I'll be honest, he got sacked 5 times, and I'll bet you there was 15 hurries, 10 hurries.
Oh, yeah.
Like he was constantly being.
It was very noticeable.
Being shoved, like it was obvious.
Are you off on them making it to the AFC Championship game?
Well, my thing at this point is with that offensive line, I don't know they make the playoffs.
Yeah, right now they're just in the hunt.
Right now, they're leaping. They got to leap 2 teams to even get into the playoffs. And, the AFC East, they're going to beat up on each other a little bit here.
But right now, they're all in the playoffs.
They're all in the playoffs, and that's what you're doing. And those teams can beat. I mean, the Patriots could legitimately beat.
Mike White has got the Jets in the playoffs.
Mike White does have the Jets in the playoffs.
It's going to do nothing for the Jets in the long run. Nothing.
He's going to be
what we talked about.
We talked about the worst draft pick.
Exactly. That's
We
all
talked
it's doing.
about-
We talked about 2 weeks ago.
I know.
We talked about last week too. The fact that it's just there's no.
It just makes no absolute
no
sense.
rhyme or reason at this point for them to be any good, and they are.
And all he's going to do is get them a worst draft pick, and they're going to be stuck. They're going to have to roll with either Mike White or Zach Wilson. That's your
Well, and
choices.
I think at this point, with you tried Mike White last year, he played well.
Mm-hmm.
You bring him back this year. To me, I think that's your play. You're not drafting in the top for a quarterback this year, and at this point, Zach Wilson's not getting it done for you, and showed you that he wasn't. We talked about him being a draft bust.
You
and
also
the fact that
saw Garrett Wilson be super frustrated and
Yeah.
come out when Zach Wilson was the quarterback. and say things like, we need to trust our wide receiver room a little bit more. We need to throw the ball more than 10 times in a game. All this stuff. They asked him about Mike White yesterday, and he says, I'll go to war for that boy. He's got something special about him.
Complete opposite.
And that's complete opposite. And that's because Zach Wilson isn't in there pointing blame. Mike White is going to the podium and saying, well, I could have done this better, and, as a team, we'll figure it out. And Zach Wilson's going to the podium saying, well, I put the ball there where it's supposed to be. I didn't call the play, right? And that kills you in the locker room. And leadership is important. And
that's huge, though, that he's completely lost that locker room. Like,
that quick.
I mean,
10 days,
how do you come back from that? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I don't think you can. And to me, it's that.
That sucks for
It's kind of the Sam Darnold situation, right?
Yeah.
All over again for them.
Yeah.
Where they draft a guy high, he comes in, they tout him, they throw him out there, he's supposed to be, and never is. And here it is again, and he lost the locker room, and he did all right. So here it's just a repeat of the past.
Except they're winning now.
I hope they give Mike White a good extended leash, because I think with what you saw last year and you saw this year, and we're seeing the same thing in Washington with Taylor Heineke.
Yeah.
Right? Heineke should be the starter for the Commanders.
I've been saying that.
Next year.
I've been
Not
saying
now,
that.
next year. Right?
Yes.
He should be. He's played well enough. And you guys all know I like Sam Howell, and I hope that Sam Howell gets to play. But if he doesn't play for a couple years, I'm not going to be upset about that.
Right.
We will see. But when it comes to leadership, and you talk about that, someone who's giving leadership on the field, Joe Burrow, the dude is doing it again.
Yeah.
He's got that team up. They just, now, granted, it was at home.
Is that 3 in a row to Kansas City?
Right?
I think so.
But
Glizzy Gobbler came back.
Yeah. He did. The Glizzy Gobbler came back. Jamar Chase came back.
If you don't know, Google it.
You should
Google
absolutely
Glizzy
Google
Gobbler.
it. It's great. Jamar Chase back on the field, gave them some more weapons. And what they were able to do was keep Mahomes on the sidelines, which is what other teams haven't been able to do.
Yeah.
Other teams have gone in there and gotten into some of these shooting matches, and they haven't been able, because if Mahomes gets on the field, he will put a drive together and eat the clock up.
You watched the game then yesterday, right?
I watched enough of it.
Okay, so at one point, you saw this, I'm sure, when they called a play, and it was almost like a pick play, but it was legal, and it got Tyler Boyd wide open.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Wide, not even a guy within 8 yards of him, and he literally was like right in his hands, and he dropped it.
Hit him in the
Burrow
face
was
mask.
pissed,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Wow."
Did you
because that would have given him a lead.
He goes, "That's why you have hands."
Dude, he was.
You can read his mouth open. He goes, "That's why you have hands." And he went to do this and hit him right in the face mask.
I was like, "Wow!" And so, but instead of that like imploding because you're playing the Chiefs,
Right.
and that was your chance to take the lead on the Chiefs, and you blew it. So now you go for the field goal, and you're still behind, and now you're giving the ball back to the Chiefs. Instead of that imploding, didn't matter. They get right back to business. Defense makes a stop. Burrow comes down and ends up beating him in the long run. P. Ryan is playing out of his mind too, by the way. The last 2 games, there's a couple fantasy analysts on Twitter that were like asking, is P. Ryan better than Mixon? No, he's not. Mixon's a very special player as well, but P. Ryan is one of the best backups, one of the best backup running backs I think in the league. I don't think that P. Ryan could go somewhere and be like an every down running back, like an RB1.
Those running backs are
what it does do though is it gives the Bengals an opportunity that when they get in the playoffs to be able to take those two backs and kind of do what Dallas does, right? And be able to interchange them, and you put one in there that's fresh and just keep firing at you.
Not only that, but Mixon's out for a concussion. Usually guys miss 1 week. He missed 2 weeks in a row. You don't have to rush Mixon back.
No.
Right.
Like, you need Mixon for the playoffs. Let him take his time. Like, my daughter just recently had a concussion, and I realize how serious it is. And to go out there and be able to play football after 7 to 10 days, I'm like, that's ridiculous, right?
Exactly.
So give him time to fully heal, and let this guy just go and murder it for a couple of weeks, and then you'll be back and playoffs start.
So the questions start to become, now we start looking at the the hierarchy and where we're at. I mean, I think we all think the Chiefs are really good in the AFC.
Yeah.
Chiefs are in that top 2, top 3 discussion. Does this loss tell us that they shouldn't be number 1 still in the AFC? I don't know. it's going to be hard for anybody playing in Kansas City to win against this team.
I would agree with it. I feel like the way I feel about it is they just put a little bit more parity in it. It's not like at first we thought the Buffalo Bills were going to run away with it, and then they showed that they're susceptible to a few things. Yeah, and then everyone's like, oh man, the Chiefs. The Chiefs are like where it's at. This team's going to the Super Bowl, and they kind of showed that they can also be beat as well. Didn't they lose Did they lose to the Colts?
Who?
The Chiefs.
They lost to the Colts.
They lost to a team that was not very good. I don't know if it was the Colts or not, but they lost to a team that wasn't very good. Now they lose to a surging Bengals team, which is the third time in a row, like we said. So, it's up for grabs.
Yeah, week 3.
They lost to the Colts.
Yeah.
So that's a terrible team to lose to, right? That's not good
the
for your
NFL
resume.
for you, isn't it?
Right.
Isn't that the NFL right there?
Given Sunday. So, they showed that they can be beat by a bad team, too. So, it's up for grabs, and that's what I like to see. I don't want to see just one team coming in and completely dominate, and they're like, "Oh, here you go."
So, give me real quick in the AFC. Give me your top 3.
Top 3, without a doubt. Without a doubt, to me, I still have Buffalo number 1. I know they've slowed lately. I have the Chiefs number 2, and I have Cincinnati number 3 right now.
Okay,
that's who I have. Even though people can make a case for Cincinnati being ahead of the Chiefs because of beating them 3 times in a row, whatever. Maybe Joe Burrow just has his number. Maybe Joe Burrow has Mahomes' number.
It's just one of those things where teams match up, and it looks like it. And then you see how the Bengals win and the Ravens lose Lamar Jackson just like that.
Yeah.
Right.
So the Ravens, even though they still won, you're like, well, how hurt is Lamar Jackson? Are they going to not win it? Because you want to get home field. You want to get home field.
To me, their team is not that good.
They've got a decent backup, though.
Correct.
They've got a decent backup there that can at least go out and keep them in the game.
He's a game manager,
Huntley
and
can keep them in the game. He's not.
But they don't have to change the playbook. Is the important part. They basically just take the same playbook Lamar Jackson has, and they give it to Huntley. He's not as good as Lamar Jackson or as fast, but he does the same type of things.
Yeah, and so with that, but. What about you? What's your top 3 in the AFC?
I would say the same 3.
So you got the same 3.
In that order?
Yeah.
Buffalo, KC.
Give or take. But I would have to do Kansas City. Just because they lost one guy, I still think I'll be more scared of Kansas City than I would be the Bengals, I guess, a little bit more. So it's not really, you're just kind of nitpicking 2 and 3. That's all you're doing.
See, and I'm a little on the other side. I actually would put KC first.
Okay.
Then I would put the Bills. And then, a healthy Dolphins team or the Bengals, to me, is a coin flip. I have to look at what I have in front of me today, and it's the Bengals this week. And in 2 weeks, that might be the Dolphins. It could be. But that's kind of where I sit with it right now. I think we're all, in there. NFC, where are you at?
The two best teams, in my opinion, if I have to go top 3, I'm taking Philadelphia. I would have put San Francisco at number 2 before the quarterback injury. I would probably put Dallas at number 2, and I still put San Fran at number 3 because I think that all around they have a pretty good team. I think that's the 3 I have in order. I think Minnesota is a fake contender.
I can't do it. I can't put Minnesota there.
No, they're a fake contender because you look at the teams that, I don't know, you go back and look at their stats and their record.
So bad
I feel like they've got lucky a couple of games, and I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying they're a bad team. I just don't think they're a contender.
Yeah.
Where are you at, Dave?
Very similar. Very similar. I would do Eagles, Cowboys. Man.
I still have the Niners up there because I think the Niners are the best team in the West.
I mean, I'm looking at the NFC right here. It's pretty bad.
It's bad.
It's really bad. I mean, the Rams checked out. The Bucs are done. I mean, the NFC South is just terrible.
The whole South.
The whole South is terrible. Everybody thought the AFC West would have 3 teams in the playoffs again. They might probably have maybe 1, 2 if Seattle continues to win.
Yeah, the NFC.
I would have to do Philly, Dallas, 49ers, just because 49ers have all those offensive weapons, and they still have a really good defense. So
I still have the Niners ahead of a team like the Giants or the Commanders.
And the Vikings.
And the Vikings.
I really,
that's what I'm saying.
And Commanders, I would almost bet that if we took one of these top 10 quarterbacks in the league and put them on the Commanders roster, you would have them fighting for that 3rd spot.
The Commanders are doing this all without Chase Young.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when you add Chase Young to that, does it ruin chemistry or does it just put them up above?
I would say it's just defensive end.
Really,
I think it sparks it more, because now they know we got to.
And they've got interchangeable parts, so he doesn't have to be on the field every down.
To me, just their offense isn't where I would like it to be for a playoff team. And I know defense wins championship. Mm-hmm. I know their defense is playing really well. To me, their offense is just kind of
God, the NFC South is
They have some playmakers.
The NFC East has 4 teams with 7 wins or more. NFC South
And
is
it sucks because Brady's going to get in the playoffs, and he's
get
going to have a terrible
yeah.
team, and he's going to get in the playoffs.
And he's going to get a home field game, and the other two won't.
Yeah, it sucks.
He's going to play a team with a losing record. He's
Right.
going to have a losing record.
It's like even
and
when he
he's
has
gonna-
a down year, which doesn't happen often, ever, it still lines up for him.
It still lines up.
Luck of Brady.
And that's you don't want to have him in. Well, you know, we talk
That's like the
about
worst thing you can say.
you know some of the good and the bad. The NFL only allowed 7% of viewing markets to watch the Browns Texans game yesterday. Only 7% of markets could actually watch the game. That's obviously very intentional, and that was because of the return of Deshaun Watson. And I think that they felt like it was going to be a very negative environment being in Houston, and they thought there'd be all these like possibly political type signs towards him or you know whatever it was. And honestly, it was half full. They didn't show up. People wore Deshaun Watson jerseys. They booed him like I saw one blog that said he was booed like any quarterback who left a team and is back for the first time.
Does anybody care? Does anybody care about if Deshaun Watson wasn't coming back for his very first game in a couple of years? Does anybody care about the Browns versus the Texans?
I don't think so.
No.
Anybody who plays the Texans, nobody's going to really care about.
No one cares.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. So they made this big hit.
Right.
But I love how the NFL contradicts itself by only showing it in 7%.
Right.
But yeah, let's suspend them just enough games where you can come back and play the Texans because they know that's like a moneymaker. And the only reason people are turning in for that is to see Deshaun Watson in a Browns uniform play his first game and throw against. No one else
And that
cares.
must have been
because
that-
even Texans don't even have Davis Mills going. They have Kyle Allen going and no Brandon Cooks. So you have Nico Collins and Damian Pierce and then a bunch of guys with Kyle Allen. No one cares. No one cares.
Well,
You nailed it, NFL.
You know,
Great job.
and that's
Goodell did
and
it
that
again,
becomes
buddy.
the thing.
He's the greatest.
Anthony's asking, is Davis Mills QB1 next year? I'll give my opinion. I think Davis Mills is a very good fundamental quarterback. I think that's a really defunct organization right now that just doesn't know what they're doing.
He's not QB1.
And he's not next year. They
I'll
are
answer that
drafting,
question. They're drafting
and
a
they are
quarterback.
taking, absolutely without a doubt, the one or second best quarterback available, because I think that 1, 2, or 3 in the draft this year are interchangeable pieces that literally you could have the number 1 overall pick and be trading out of it with someone who's picking third or fourth,
Right, and
get a very, very good.
That's what they should do.
Quarterback.
Because I don't think there's a clear-cut number 1.
I don't either.
So I think that they should do that. I think
And
that
the
if
guy
someone,
I think that's the best isn't going to go until probably 20th. So that's and that's Cameron Rising. So
He's not going in the first round.
All right. We'll see.
my God!
this reminds me of
Teams
Jimmy
will
last
reach.
year when
Teams
Jimmy
will reach. Remember, teams
Okay,
will reach for
but
quarterbacks.
Jimmy, this is the same argument
Yeah.
Jimmy had. Jimmy said quarterbacks are reach, and we had a bet. I said
All quarterbacks are reaching.
Jimmy tried to tell me last year that 5 quarterbacks were going to get taken in the first round, and I said you're out of your mind.
They did.
And no, they didn't.
4 did, right?
No, one.
One went in the
No,
first.
last
Kenny
year,
Pickett.
the year before that, I'm talking about.
No,
The year
we're.
before
I'm
that.
talking about
Oh,
we had a.
2022. But it was a horrible.
That's what I told him,
Yeah, it
and he
was a
said,
horrible-
"Doesn't matter."
That one's
People
awful.
will reach for quarterbacks, and then we watch one
Yeah.
quarterback get taken.
Yeah, oh yeah. I'm talking
You
about.
just got to say at this point, what are you thinking? Number 1 overall, Levis from Kentucky.
It's either gonna be Levis, Stroud, or Young. I mean,
Okay,
it's one of
so-
those 3.
I think
Right.
Caleb Williams
You
jumps
got
up
Caleb Williams.
for USC.
So
that
there's
kid
4.
that kid's got heart. I mean, that USC is the worst
And again,
defense.
Is Caleb Williams going pro, or is he going pro next year for sure?
I think he is.
I think so, and
I
you're
think
going to
he's-
have.
I think he's already mocked to go up. Yeah, they've already.
Yeah, and
moved
you've
him
got
up.
10 teams at least that will be drafting a quarterback for either the future or the immediate future. If you go through the list, you start looking at the teams that actually are looking for quarterbacks.
Right.
That will be looking. We know obviously the Texans.
Mm-hmm.
We know that the Panthers are looking for quarterbacks. We know the Saints will be looking for a quarterback.
Seattle might be.
Seattle gonna have to just because of age, right? They're gonna have to do that. You go down the list, there is easily 10 teams that will need to draft a quarterback
New Orleans.
for either
Yes, it's in New Orleans, yeah.
either a team, team's going to have to draft a quarterback. Probably the Jets. The Jets are probably going to be looking for a quarterback because, again, Mike White to them was a backup, and we'll see. But again, they're going to be drafting. So when you start looking, and that's why I'm saying that a guy that probably is a borderline, second-round pick, mid-round, second-round pick, could easily be brought up into the first round with a late first-round pick. And if you're a team like the Jets, you could be taking a guy like a Cameron Rising. Also, Duggan gets mentioned by Anthony, and that's another quarterback that is another guy that skill set wise is right up there. So the class is good. There's a potential of 6 quarterbacks going in the first round this year, whereas there was no potential.
Last year was obvious though.
Right.
Last year was
very obvious.
It wasn't obvious to Jimmy, but everybody else it was. But but to answer Anthony's question, Davis Mills won't be the QB1 next year because they're only into him for a 3rd-round pick. Yep. So to me, that's not enough draft capital for him to sustain that. And not only that, but you have him on his rookie contract. So what's wrong with keeping him as your backup, having a cheap backup that could play if he had to? You draft a guy in the first round, and if you have to start Davis Mills here and there because maybe this guy's struggling in camp, you do that, and you can still start Davis Mills at the very start, but he's not going to play the whole year. Maybe week 1, Davis Mills might be the quarterback one if the rookie is struggling, but there's going to be somebody replacing him.
I think the move with him is that he needs to end up on a team that's really running back focused, that's
a team
really
that's ready to
running
win
the ball, and a team that's ready to win.
The Patriots?
He just reminds me,
Put him on the 49ers.
With
Davis Mills and the 49ers.
And they're very, very good.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see with him. I'll tell you this, that when we talk about teams that, you guys have had this roller coaster year in a way with the Cowboys where, Dak gets hurt, you guys are let down, but then you still win, and then Dak's back, and you lose a game you shouldn't, and then you win a bunch of games, and you guys are on it. That performance last night by the Cowboys, I don't care if it was Indianapolis. Indy has shown them that they can play with anybody in the league at some point. They've got just enough skill position players on their team to be able to match up from time to time. And in the second half, that defense, that looked like the best defense in the NFL.
Yeah, I couldn't stop laughing at half. Well, no, it was before the game, and they were asking everybody their picks, and you hear Jason Garrett said Dallas is going to win by 40, and they laughed at him.
Tony Dungy looked over. I think he said it messing with Tony Dungy, though. I didn't really think he...
I thought it was funny. I was like, that's kind of funny. 40 points, 'That's ridiculous, right?
That's a lot of points.
Yeah, and then they ended up winning by 37.
Yeah, it was close.
It was at halftime. It was a good game all around, right? And it was a very close game. And then Dallas looked like a brand new team that came out in the second half, and I was like, the Colts couldn't do anything. Every pass was either deflected or intercepted, or if it was caught, it was fumbled. I was like, they couldn't get anything.
I just almost wonder if they went in at... I literally feel like they went in at halftime and absolutely chewed.
Yeah.
It was like there's no reason for you to get to not to
Right.
get to this statue.
It took them a bit, too,
And
because
they
the third
did,
quarter, I
like-
don't even think they scored a point, Dallas. And then they scored 33 in the fourth
Right.
quarter.
And that, again, the defense drove that offense.
Yeah.
Because the defense just kept putting the offense on the field.
Right.
And just wore Indianapolis' defense down. And they had some guys that got hurt. And that's, the nature of a game, right?
Yeah.
Guys are going to get hurt as they go. Today the talk is OBJ. He's coming in. He's doing a physical. They're going to have a conversation. Then apparently there's potential to see him work out. I'm not really sure how this timeline works, except in Jerry's world, he may have already signed a contract. Who knows? We really never know with Jerry. My question to you guys is, OBJ, if he comes in, and I think he's going to be a Cowboy, again, I play that game that I've always played for the last 2 years of this year and a half of this podcast, which is where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah.
And here we are again, there's smoke. And I just think that this is where he's going to land at this point. He comes in. He's not going to take a lot away from guys, but you got some guys that are playing really confidently now. Is this going to hurt or help that receiver room?
I don't think it's going to hurt the receiver room at all. Who's going to hurt is James Washington, who's supposed to be activated off the IR. He broke his foot really early in the season. And he was supposed to be our number 3, and he's nothing special, but he's a decent number 3. He was basically brought in to replace Cedric Wilson, who I thought played really well last year, and now all of a sudden he's disappeared in Miami. I think that this does nothing but help because he's not going to take away anything from CeeDee. CeeDee's going to be the number 1. And I think Gallup is going to stay around his 5 to 6 targets he gets. Like, it's not like Gallup gets 10 targets a game.
You don't need it too much.
He's going to stick around that 5-6 target range, and now you're going to have Beckham. The only guy that it could hurt is the passes to the running backs. Like, I know we use Pollard quite a bit. Yeah. I don't think it's going to hurt Schultz either because I think Schultz is actually a pretty good tight end. He's the best tight end we have because he blocks and he can catch.
Yeah.
So I think that it's not going to hurt the wide receiver room. I think that where you're going to see it is the pass catching on the running backs.
Well, and that's where I think that red zone.
Yeah.
I think that's where it'll matter because now he comes in. He's going to give you another big wide receiver. You guys already have a couple big wide receivers that it is, and now you bring in another big wide receiver that can body up right on the goal line, which is not something that your running backs can really do.
Right.
They have a lot of screen pass and reversing fields and stuff like that to make those pass plays in the short the short game. Now Odell Beckham is a guy that, and granted that he's actually healthy, he's usually a guy that's going to get the first 2 steps on a DB, and that usually plays in the red zone really strong.
Well, what I also like is that he doesn't have to come back and be like the best shape of his entire career. Like he can kind of be brought along slowly.
Yeah. I just want to know what the contract is because that's the most important thing with Dallas salary cap. They have a lot of big contracts already.
Jerry Jones doesn't care about
it. It doesn't matter. There's still a salary cap.
Dave, you know he's going to mess it up. I don't even know why you would even wonder that. You know he's going to mess it up.
I just don't want to lose another player for, like this year you're paying him how much you're going to pay him, which is fine because it's the end of the year. You don't really pick it up much. But is he going to be another 2-year contract after that? Because they had to get rid of Amari Cooper because they were paying him $20+ million a year.
Well, it may
so that's why they had to
for a bag of peanuts. We got rid of him.
But it doesn't matter. They got rid of him because of the money because they can't afford to keep all those players. They wouldn't have got Jerron Curse back. They wouldn't have been able to sign Jordan Lewis.
Zeke kind of.
They wouldn't be able to do all. I understand that, but that's done. You can't do anything about that.
But is it after 2022 or is it after 2023 where we can cut Zeke and not have that dead cap? Is it one more year with Zeke or is it?
Well, you cut him, and I think you still have to pay him like $8 million something. So you're still going to have to pay him something if you cut him. It's not going to be zero.
So it's one more year.
I think it's one more. I'm out to look, but I think it's 1 year. Then it's.
Okay.
But I mean, even his contract's going down though every year.
But they need to win. They need to win this year.
Well, they paid him early, so his contract's going to go down.
Yeah.
The only thing that's going to change is just his
play.
Right.
His play's going to go down as well.
Well, that's fine. I don't mind. Everybody's like Zeke wasn't started last night. I'm fine with it. Rest him. That's fine. Because when I need a yard, I know Zeke's going to get the yard. That's the most important thing. I can't 100% with Pollard. No, he's going to get that yard.
Know, man.
What are you talking about? When does Zeke ever not get the yard?
Pollard is shifty as hell. I'm just saying that I trust Pollard to get that yard too.
I like Pollard, but I agree that between the 2 running backs, the one that's going to grind you the yard is going to be Zeke.
Yeah,
right? That's where he's at. Is that you want Zeke to be not dinged up and be healthy enough
I agree.
to get that grinded yard.
And then Malik Davis comes in and gets touchdown.
Yeah,
third string running back scored.
But the other thing is like we already had 3 really good receivers with Amari Cooper last year, and it worked fine. They were the number 1 offense the last ever since Kellen Moore's taken over. They've been the number 1 offense. So I don't find Odell Beckham to hurt them offensively. I only can do his help. It's another option.
Yep.
But what's going to happen in the next 2 years?
Now it's going to be he's landed in Dallas. He's done this. He's doing that. He took his shirt off.
I don't think Jerry Jones lets him leave Dallas, to be honest with you. I think that once he goes to Dallas, they're going to wine and dine him. Yeah. He's not going to leave Dallas without a contract.
Yeah, I think that's what is going to end up happening. So let's get into it. It's time for Jay's Fantasy Roundup, portion of the program where Jay talks to you about your fantasy teams. In the last couple of weeks, when we started this, I kept telling you, like, I had bad luck here, I had bad luck there.
Yeah.
And I'm another week of bad luck. First off, in our league, in second place, I was matched up against number 1 and had a favorable matchup, I thought. And then Joe Mixon was a game-time decision. I didn't make the move. I forgot him. I lost him in points. I started Deshaun Watson yesterday because they were playing the Texans over Lamar Jackson. So either way, I wasn't going to get the points, right?
Still picked the wrong guy, but okay.
Ended up ended up just, again, like on the other side in another fantasy team, I started Tua.
Did you lose it in our league?
I'm definitely losing this week.
Sweet, because you're ahead of me.
Yeah,
I beat the brakes off a Hoodie, so hopefully Hoodie's listening. I beat the brakes off of him.
I barely beat Bob. He doesn't even turn the lineup in.
Hoodie? He barely beat Bob.
Beat him by like 15, 16 points. I mean, this is ridiculous.
No, this is great. So, if you're listening to us earlier, a lot of the injuries that were key injuries yesterday happened to quarterbacks. Unless you're in a super flex league, you're not going out and picking up Brock Purdy or Josh Johnson or even Tyler Huntley, to be honest with you. Mike White is interesting as a streamer, but I wouldn't want to have him as my guy the rest of the season. He's a guy that is like a fill-in for bye weeks. Like if you happen to have bad luck and your quarterback got hurt and then you picked up Taylor Heineke and now Taylor Heineke's on bye week, I would play a guy like Mike White or maybe a Huntley as like a streamer option. Running backs is what we want to talk about. The number one waiver ad, in my opinion, is Donovan Knight. They're already calling him Bam. I guess he's got a nickname already. Bam Knight, the running back from the Jets. Michael Carter was a late scratch with an ankle injury. We already know Breece Hall is out. Ty Johnson, they don't trust with his ball control, and they use him more as a receiving back. I thought it would be more of a 50-50 split between James Robinson and Donovan Knight. It wasn't. Donovan Knight got all the run. James Robinson was a ghost again. I don't even know why they would trade for James Robinson. Like, you can say they did it for depth, but they had Donovan Knight waiting in the wings, and so this rookie is impressed. He's my number one waiver wire ad. And then I have a few guys that we've mentioned before, and hopefully you went and picked them up already. I've mentioned them in the last week, so like OBJ, like you just said.
Yeah.
I told you to pick him up a few weeks ago and just stash him on your bench. Jameson Williams coming back for Detroit. He got cleared. He'll probably play next week.
I did do that.
Yeah, he's the guy that I would stash on my bench as well. Isaiah Hodgins is an interesting name. Now, he's another New York Giants wide receiver because they all just keep getting hurt. He caught his first touchdown of the season. He's a rookie. I know we've seen some of his stuff in the new product that came out.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, who's this guy? But he's actually a pretty decent receiver, and they don't have much there to throw to. So he's another guy if you're hurting a wide receiver to go pick up. Brandon Powell from the Rams. Wolford actually didn't look too bad in that Seahawks game, but you're not going to get to play the Seahawks every week. So you got to temper your expectations once you go up against a good team. But they got creative and found ways to get Brandon Powell the ball and not just like, go out and run a route. They actually got him some trick plays. And Cam Akers out of nowhere, right?
All of a sudden?
Yeah, like Kyron Williams, Kyron Williams has all the run the week before. So I go and I literally have him on my taxi squad. I activate him everywhere.
Me too.
I was like, you know what? This is his time. I'm going to activate him in 4 out of my 5 leagues that I have him. And then he gets nothing. And I was like, okay, now we're back on the Cam Akers train. He gets 2 touchdowns. And then James Cook, another guy I mentioned him a few weeks ago, but every week he seems to get a little bit more in Buffalo.
You know the sneaky move that I did was Donovan Peoples-Jones?
Yeah.
I picked him up, and where the passing game wasn't great yesterday because he returns kicks, he returned a punt for a touchdown, and I got points from him there.
Yes.
So sometimes also watching for that type of play with some of these guys.
Always know your league rules.
Yeah, I always say that. That's
Always
what made me laugh when we did our draft here, because I was like, know your league rules, because there's stuff in there that you might not know, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, how does this guy get this?
Right.
It's in there.
Yeah.
I promise you it's in there.
And that obviously that played well for me because I got lucky. In the other league I'm in, I had him started because I didn't start Williams because I just, and now I have Williams to come in, and we'll see what he does.
Oh, speaking of running backs, before I forget too, Kenneth Walker got injured yesterday. He didn't play that much at all. He only played not even for a whole first quarter. It was a weird injury too. They said it was like it's something with his foot, but it wasn't usually where you have like an injured foot. So they're being cautious with him, but they don't know if he's going to miss any time. They haven't ruled he's going to miss any time yet. So just be leery, because DJ Dallas came in, he also got hurt. Tony Jones came in, he got banged up. They don't really have a whole lot there. Travis Homer was already inactive.
Inactive, yeah.
So, I mean, they don't have a whole lot of running back depth in Seattle right now. So look for them to be signing somebody off of somebody.
Pick up Geno Smith if you need a quarterback.
Yeah, no. And
you should be owned in every league already.
Yeah. Well, and what I would be doing is like Tyler Lockett had a big day yesterday.
Yeah.
But thinking maybe 3rd and 4th on the depth chart at wide receiver because they're going to probably be throwing the ball more. Probably add 10 more passes a game.
They'll be signing somebody off of somebody's practice squad that they're trying to hide on their practice squad. They'll be signing somebody off of the practice squad.
You'll get by tomorrow. Probably today maybe somebody will be picked up. You'd be like, oh, this guy was on this guy's
It'd be
practice squad.
like a Tevin Coleman type, or like a Duke Johnson type who all of a sudden come out of nowhere.
You know another name too that yesterday, because I was at the game, but Zamir White got touches yesterday.
Oh.
Even though Josh Jacobs has been as big as he's been.
Yeah, he's been
but
unreal.
he looked good coming in when he did.
I like
so
Zamir White too.
I think that'll be a nice thing for the Raiders moving forward, whether they can retain Jacobs or not. But he's another guy.
Well, everybody liked Zamir at the beginning too, because you're like, oh, they didn't pick up Josh Jacobs, so you're like, oh, Zamir White's going to get it all. And then Josh Jacobs has the best.
I know, but here's the funny part about that: the writing was on the wall for the Josh Jacobs thing, because what do you do when you decline to pick up a 5th-year option on a guy?
Yeah.
You run him into the ground, right?
Yep.
And that's exactly what the Raiders are doing. They're not making the playoffs. I mean, they have an outside chance. They're not eliminated yet, but they're probably not going to make the playoffs. And they're just running Jacobs into the ground, because that tells me they're not going to sign him at the end of the year. They're going to let him walk. He's going to sign with somebody different. Someone will pay him big money.
Yeah, they will.
But it won't be the Raiders,
But it
because
won't
that's
be
what
as
you do.
big as money as he should get compared to other positions.
No.
Right.
Because running backs get treated like dirt. And
Exactly.
out of all sports, running backs get treated the worst.
Enjoy it while you can for Josh
That's
Jacobs.
why these guys, like, I understand, like, you don't pay them too much because they're running backs if you're thinking that way. But they got to do something in the NFL with this contract. Maybe running backs' contracts don't go against the cap as much, so you can't. I don't know. Something just.
I mean,
it's
I'm
the same
sure they'll
happens.
come up with something. I mean, the NFL's, that's the one thing the NFL has a tendency to do, is to try to be team friendly when it comes to your ability to kind of play with your money a little bit.
Plus,
They
Goodell's
try
always
to do
taking care of the
that,
players.
you know? Like, he's not taking care of players, but you know what I'm saying. You got to play the games, guys, right?
Yeah,
we all
you
know
have
that.
to.
You have to play the games. We see it all the time. We see it in the NFL. We see it all over the place. We just saw it in soccer in the World Cup. Got to play the games. And now you got to play the games. Utah, Pac-12 champions, came to Las Vegas, played in the Pac-12 championship game against USC. USC was supposed to walk away with the game. That was supposed to be how it was to go down. Their fan base traveled incredibly well. Utah was all over it, which being both schools were equal distance. I mean, you're talking 6 hours, 5 hours, 6.5 with traffic, but coming down and coming up, and between the two, I'll tell you, like, they traveled well, so USC did not dominate the stadium.
Mm-hmm.
USC did not take it over, which I think a lot of people thought it would be that way.
Yeah.
And then they went and they really put it to them.
Defense. You can tell. They did it to them earlier when they beat them.
Their only loss.
Their only loss. So why does everybody think they're going to walk away with it? I mean, I like the over because the USC has no defense.
Yeah.
Do you
Their
think that had
secondary
anything
is
to do
atrocious.
with what Caleb Williams painted on his nails, or no?
I don't think so. I don't think that would. I don't think his nails can play defense.
But did you see it?
What did he? No, I didn't see what it is.
He put letters. He put the F word on this hand, and then he put Utah on this hand. So his hand says
It's actually
Yeah,
clever.
F Utah.
Yeah. They didn't need Baltimore material. That wasn't good.
That helped.
I mean, Caleb Williams could have played any better.
But it
I mean,
wasn't-
Jesus.
But after he got injury or whatever, the minor injury, he stayed in the game, but he didn't look the same.
Yeah, he got sacked 7 times.
He didn't look the same
It was
after
just
that.
impossible.
And
they couldn't run the ball.
You got to
couldn't-
remember, Utah did this last year
Yeah.
to Oregon,
Yeah.
where they went and beat Oregon when they weren't supposed to beat Oregon, and then came back in the bowl game and put it to them. Now, last year, Utah drowned out Oregon fans. There was crickets for Oregon last year. But to travel up against USC the way they did, I thought it was really impressive. It was an impressive win. It was a really good win for the program.
Do you agree with the Final Four?
I was going to talk about that. So here's our Final Four. We've got Georgia at number 1, Ohio State at 2.
2.
Is this
No,
right?
No,
That's
it's not
not
right. It's not right.
Why is this?
They can't be
No,
ahead
no.
of Michigan
Unless
Michigan
they-
beat them.
Yeah.
I
So
don't
it's
know
one-
how. I don't.
Ohio State
maybe
plays,
they just have it. Maybe this isn't a number. I don't know. This is supposed to be the rankings.
Is it
No.
somebody's? Maybe.
Do I
it's-
have someone else's rankings here? Look up the final rankings and make
Ohio
sure. Maybe
State-
this graphic's wrong.
Ohio State plays Georgia.
But that's how this is on here.
Right.
Is I think how they
I
have
got
it,
you
where
all
these two
confused.
play each other.
AP
Yeah.
top 25 is
That's not-
Georgia, Michigan 2, TCU 3, Ohio State,
State
4,
4.
Right.
Alabama 5.
So
Yeah.
this is just
This was like what somebody was going to project.
they
before.
put it up there as a no because it was.
Oh,
Oh, this is
November
November
22nd.
22nd. I got a
It's
bad
early.
graphic. My bad. Well, here's the thing. Whoever did this November 22nd is an absolute winner. because they should.
Yeah,
they got the Final Four right.
Yeah, they got the.
All right,
they got the superfecta.
I tried
they
to
just got the
grab it.
superfecta.
I looked that up thinking that
I don't like it. I think
I'm
it's
not surprised
terrible.
that I would make a mistake.
I don't know how you put
graphic.
TCU ahead of Ohio State. I don't understand that at all.
So you think Ohio State should be in there?
Hell yeah, they lost to Michigan. How should they not be in there? I don't understand.
I just don't like their conference that much.
I don't care about what you like or don't like.
But
you got to talk about who's deserving. So, like, a lot of people would say Alabama's deserving. I don't, because they have 2 losses. I don't think anybody should jump a 2-loss team.
I know, but the ACC, the SEC is a lot better of a conference than the Big Ten.
Yeah, but I understand it. But don't make one side of the conference lopsided. Don't put Georgia, Alabama, and LSU on the same side.
So if a team's undefeated, they should be in automatically?
No, not undefeated, because major teams.
But you have 2 teams from the Big Ten in there. I don't think the Big Ten is that good of a conference.
Michigan and Ohio State are pretty damn good, man.
Michigan's good. I don't think Ohio State should be in there.
How is Ohio State not in there? You don't think they should be in there?
I think Alabama should be in the number 4 spot.
I don't care if you want to put Alabama in 4 because it's Alabama and you think they're going to be more competitive. That's fine.
Right.
But if you want to go Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, I'm not putting Alabama with 2 losses ahead of Ohio State when they lost to just Michigan. I'm not doing that.
Why? They have a tougher.
That's just everything leans towards Alabama though. It's got to be annoying. They lost to LSU for Christ's sakes. To
me, I don't know that it's wrong.
No.
Do you agree with it?
No fucking way.
You don't. I can tell you don't.
Well,
Go ahead.
here I don't because
they lost to Tennessee and they lost to LSU.
Tennessee is ranked 6th. They're a good team.
Tennessee has 2 losses too.
They have a better conference.
I'm not saying, yeah, but it's all on one side of the conference, though. They're all playing each other. I get that. But, you can't punish another team for losing to Michigan. I don't understand how people think.
No, I would punish them for having a bad conference.
I don't think it's that bad of a conference.
You got 2 teams in there. Congratulations.
When you look at
they're really good 2 teams, though, man.
If you look at the strength of schedules that each other have, I definitely think Alabama wins the strength of schedule hands down. In that discussion against Ohio State.
Yeah, those non-conference games are really good.
Everyone's schedules cupcake games for the
I know, but they do it the worst. They don't even go past Texas.
Okay, but
Alabama, they stay in this little area here because everybody just kissing Alabama's ass.
But when you have 2, because I would rather watch Alabama in there than boring ass Ohio State.
I will hope they put them at 4. So I go to Georgia, kick the shit out of them.
Well, who, Alabama?
Yeah, Georgia's
not
way better than Alabama.
The Final Four's already out.
I know. I wish they were.
Well, so here the matchups. The matchups are intriguing because you have Georgia against against Ohio State.
Yeah.
Right, and then you got TCU playing Michigan.
Right. So Ohio State gets boat race. Congratulations, you made it in there. Now you get to lose right away.
And you think they get boat raced here?
Yeah. They're not going to hang with Georgia.
Not at all.
I don't think anybody can hang with Georgia.
I don't think so.
This is freaking minute
I feel like I don't
think Alabama can hang with Georgia. I don't think TCU definitely can't hang with Georgia.
TCU can't.
TCU can't hang with any of these teams.
I think that Alabama would give Georgia the best game, and I think the second best game would be Michigan versus Georgia.
Would you have thought that at the beginning of the year?
Well, we'll see one of them.
That Georgia's defense would be as good as it was
after
with
losing
the
all those
subtractions that it lost last year.
I know.
It's unbelievable how well they built that defense with the removal of 6 or 7 starters. It was a ridiculous number.
Crazy.
Right?
Everywhere you look, it was just
that's
Georgia
the thing.
player.
To me, that was the thing that was shocking, right? What, the Eagles drafted 2 of them, right? Didn't they?
Yeah.
They don't even play one of them.
They're not even playing.
My other thing is now you're going to see who players if they're going to play in these bowl games. Because Smith and Jigwood is sitting out for Ohio State too.
Right.
Oh,
he's already went today and said he's not playing. He's going to sit out for the draft because he's banged up.
Even more reason to not put.
They don't know this before what happens, so you can see a lot of players still do this. So a lot of players from Michigan might sit out. Not a lot, but you might see a lot of the players in the playoff year sit out.
Round.
Yeah, because they don't want to get injured for that.
Well, it doesn't matter.
Look at Jamison Williams.
We're going to see Colorado in the Final Four next year.
Colorado, yeah.
Well, and we might. And
the way Deion's going to the transfer portal, hell yeah.
Here's a little bit of the press conference.
Prime time in Mountain Time. Deion Sanders is Buffs football team and making big changes.
So first question before we get into it, why has Logan Paul not gone and got a sponsorship deal with Coach Prime, his drink that he does? With as much news and media he gets into, there's no reason that they didn't. But anyway,
maybe he might be a sponsor for the NIL.
he should be. But I'll tell you, Deion going to Colorado. He's obviously going to the Pac-12. The Pac-12 needed it. Let's be honest.
Oh,
they needed a little bit of buzz because although I like Oregon's coach, but he's not a flashy name. It's not fun. There's some players that are nice in the Pac-12, but they're spread out. Mm-hmm. There's not 3, 4, 5 guys on one team that are really like standing out. This could draw into the Pac-12, even if it's not for Colorado, just because these kids go, well, we're going to play Colorado, and that game's going to be highlighted also now, whereas the Colorado game wasn't highlighted.
It was not. They went 1-10 last year.
Yeah, so this is interesting, but your takes on Coach Deion now going to Colorado?
I thought it was hilarious. I think he is going to bring a winning culture. He's not going to be able to turn around that fast, but I did hear that he already signed like 8 5-star recruits or something like that. 5-star recruits.
Well, in the
first 24, yeah. So
I'm bringing my own luggage in their Louis.
Not only that, but like you can't get offended because your team just went 1-10. So there's clearly a bunch of you. If you don't like it, go into the portal.
Yeah.
Like he said, I'm going to try to make these kids quit. That's what he's like. I'm going to work these kids so hard, and the ones that stay, I know they're not quitters. So he's like, I want these one kids. You go to the portal if you want to compete. I'm going to make you quit.
And he's already named the starting quarterback, so that's already a job that
he was a 5-star recruit. So he could have went to like 4 or 5 other big programs, and he chose to do it a different way. I like that. That might change it for other.
His other son couldn't transfer because they already transferred once or something like that, right? That's what I was reading.
I didn't hear about that, but maybe
Shiloh or something like that. Like he's got another son that played for.
For what?
Played for him.
At Jackson State?
Yeah.
But he transferred from another... Yeah,
yes.
so he probably has to sit out a year.
He can't transfer again.
Until next year, maybe.
Right.
Or he has to sit out. I don't...
Sit out a year, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, it just goes to show you, like, I think he's a good coach, but he's also got to have his hands full because, like, the SWAC and the Pac-12 are 2 completely different beasts.
Well, yeah,
of course.
because
you're losing USC... And you're losing, UCLA to the Big Ten, right? And next year after? Not next year, the year after, right? So they're going to lose 2 huge programs that are going to the...
So to have a little bit of
Is it UCLA
buzz,
that's going with
UCLA.
Just make sure. So now the Pac-12's hurting.
It's
so
a good move for the Pac-12 because it's giving the Pac-12 at least an opportunity to either A, which I'd hate to see, but I think it's probably going to happen, which I think Pac-12 is going to end up snagging 1 or 2 of the Mountain West teams is what's going to end up happening. Yeah. And then it's gonna defunct the Mountain West eventually.
Well, you're going to see the Pac-12.
They should grab UNLV.
The Pac-12 and Big 12 are going to scramble to start picking up.
Yeah.
They've already picked up some.
Leftovers,
from American Conference, I think, coming over to the Big 12.
Yeah.
They're hurting because the SEC and Big 10 are just taking over all the bigger programs.
And that is where I think that this addition to the Pac-12 is so huge because to give Colorado a little bit of an identity to be a team, they're going to get on Friday night rather than playing Saturday afternoon buried behind 5 key games. Right? They're going to get Friday night games against another decent.
Oh, his opening game will probably be televised.
Pac-12, and that's going to be big for the conference as well as for Colorado. So it'll be interesting to see. And I love what he brings to the table as far as some fun.
What about predictions? Does he go to a bowl game his first year?
I don't think he does it in the first year. I think it takes him a couple of years, only because USC
you don't have to do a lot. You don't have to do a lot to get into a bowl game.
Yeah, you got to go win. You only need 1 more win, right?
82 bowl games.
6 wins you need.
Yeah,
there is 82 bowl games.
Right,
it's pretty bad.
It could be the cheesy mac and cheese bowl. Like it doesn't matter. Just a bowl game.
What is it? The L&R bowl, Carrier bowl. What the hell is it? It's like the Carrier bowl. I was like, what the hell? This is a bowl game? The Independence. They're just naming it now. It's so bad, but yeah.
Starting next week at the request of Johnny Rip, we will start including some basketball fantasy news for you guys.
Okay.
We'll start getting some basketball on there.
I even told him I got to start watching more
We'll start
NBA,
getting some basketball on there. NBA had a few things. We'll touch on a couple things. There was a Draymond Green altercation, they thought it was, with a fan, where him and a fan had some choice words towards each other. He got fined $25,000. The fan then came out and said, we were just having a back and forth. It was kind of fun. What are you guys doing? So now the fan has offered to donate $25,000 to a charity to match the.
He did. He split it. He actually split it between the two teams. He donated 12.5 to one charity and 12.5 to the other. Yeah.
So storylines like that. You've got some guys that are injured.
LeBron would have had him eliminated from the thing and said, "Don't ever come to an NBA game."
LeBron would already knew it was going to happen, so it wouldn't have happened.
But he would have kicked him out before it happened.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
He'd have threw him right out.
Like the Minority Report.
And another thing that was kind of interesting is that your Western Conference Player of the Week was Anthony Davis, which heard some rumblings a few weeks ago that the Lakers should, maybe, could, might, won't, who knows, move him, and then he gets a little motivation and goes out on the court and starts putting up some numbers. I don't know,
or is he showing off for the new team,
so he can get.
It's going to cost a ton.
I don't know, but either way,
is he doing a
either way, we'll see. I'm not sure what's going to happen there. And then I also saw teams are still not giving Ben Simmons much respect. So Atlanta the other night, defensively, was down in the key, and Ben Simmons was bringing up the ball, and they let him bring it up past the free throw line. Unguarded. He made the shot.
Oh, he shot a jumper?
They were literally letting him come all the way in, and they were defending the other four players. You have to take a look at it, but those are a couple things to watch. And then there's storylines. I don't know if this is true or not. And again, I've just started looking into some of this stuff because for the NBA, for me, first quarter of the season, terrible, I don't usually pay attention to it.
I don't turn basketball on until NFL season's over.
I will because I do like the sport. I do like to look.
Does Ben Simmons even start?
Some of the he's not right now.
He's starting 8 points a game. Yeah. He's shooting a whopping 54% from the free throw line.
76ers though,
0 points from three.
There's like this potential. All of a sudden, these things being mentioned of James Harden and how he worked out with all these Rockets in the offseason and maybe being reunited with.
He can't have friends?
Jesus, man. These NBA players.
I don't know.
This is why I don't watch the NBA right there.
But
he just wanted to go to another team, then he wants to go to another team.
But maybe
now he wants to go to another team.
Well, the question is, does he? And the reason being is because he looked across the court, and Tyrese Maxey is better. He's hurt, but he's better, right? He's a better player right now.
He's a better point guard, yes.
Right? And because of that, when he comes back, he will be getting the minutes, playing that role, doing that, because that team, the 76ers team, they're not giving in to James Harden. They are playing their game. They are letting their team play. They're doing that. So we'll get into some more talk about it. We'll get into some more of this, but definitely get into some fantasy as well because now it's the time where you're starting to ramp up your fantasy.
I have not watched a single second of basketball.
We've got some young players that are really doing some things.
Orlando games.
Franz Wagner is all kinds of legit. The Magic.
That girl's really good too.
Magic's really good. Jalen Green is really good for the Rockets. You got some young guys that are really showing off this year as to what they can be. And I think that's good for the NBA because we needed that. And then you've got your, tried and true steadies. Guys are doing some stuff like this guy.
Is the Eastern Conference better now?
So this is Steph Curry taking 5 consecutive full court shots.
I wonder who made this video. Steph Curry's mom. How they make it? They make it real. Yeah. He's like, I knew he was gonna make all 5.
5 in a row. 5 in a row.
Why didn't he shoot 6?
You know how I don't believe this? You know why I don't believe it is because nobody ties their sweater around their waist anymore. Like no one does.
Nobody
that.
ties
no
their
one
sweater.
does that. Put it on the rack if you're gonna do that. It's a fake. It's fake.
It's fake because of the sweatshirt. I like it.
Maybe even
I'll tell you what.
It's fake.
If it is, and we all kind of think it's fake. If
it was somebody else doing it, it's really fake.
I have to tell you that I went back and looked at the angle of every single one of those shots to see if it lined up to be the same shot being made, but just ball in the area, and they're all different. They all come from a different way. They all hit the rim differently.
Angles.
They all. Yeah. So, one thing that was said is, you made the comment. Well, he probably just kept throwing them up until he was making them.
And then they put 5 together. Just CGI.
Throw 5
who knows? Yeah. But yeah,
he might have shot 20 of them, or 25 or 30, and maybe.
I mean, if he went 5 for 25,
pretty good.
I'm impressed. He was 5 for 30. I'm going to tell you right now, if he's 5 for 25, he should never leave that half of the court again.
I'm just
he
telling
should just stay on defense and throw bombs.
Who knows how many he shot?
No, it probably took a bunch.
But if I'm the Warriors, I'd be like, stop doing that, because that can't be good for your shoulder.
Yeah,
it was
stop
great,
doing it and untie your sweater
for TikTok and all this other bullshit.
Take your sweater off.
It did give us a moment though to talk about.
You can't do that. Yeah, unless you're from Mexico City and you can put your sweater on your shoulders. That you don't do that. That's not a good look.
Not going to get into it too crazy, but Team USA bounced from the World Cup. Some people are applauding them. Some are not. I'm a little in the middle. I'm in the middle of
it's
it.
Soccer, Greg. It's soccer.
I know, right? I don't know if
saw that about 50 times. Yeah.
I don't know if I had an expectation for them to run deep, and I don't know if I necessarily thought that they would play well or not.
Right.
It was nice to see them make the tournament, get into the second round. That I think is
they didn't
good.
make it 4 years ago. This is the second youngest team, right?
Yeah.
This is all stuff I've heard. I really don't know much about soccer or football. Regularly.
So it's a good opportunity for this team to grow, and 4 years from now we'll see what we have.
I'll look forward to that. I'll put it on my calendar right now.
Yeah, do it 4 years from now.
4 years from now.
Don't worry, next year the women play, so we'll win. Don't worry. So then the ones who should be paying more money will win.
Yeah. It was fun to showcase.
Looking forward to
it was fun to showcase, some more.
Right?
I will tell you this though. If they weren't the favorite before, when they were one of the favorites, Brazil has got to be the favorite now.
Why? Because they beat North Korea? Or
that team is just good. It's just good. And Neymar...
If you're going to give me 2 picks, I'm picking them or France.
Neymar is really, really good. And it's pretty impressive to see how he plays in this tournament structure, because they thought, a lot of people thought he'd be a wild card because he's kind of considered selfish in some ways. And he's actually been really, really good about not being selfish, and it's made that team 5 times better. So we'll see. That's about all the World Cup I'm going to talk about.
What did they win? 4-0 or 5-0? 4-1?
4-1.
Put up some points.
The over had to be what, 1?
Yeah, the over was 2.5.
It was
2.5? Wow.
Yeah. It's usually about 2.
I probably would have hammered the under. I would have lost my ass. But I would have hammered the under. 2.5 goals?
I think Korea. I think South Korea was expected to put up some points. They're pretty good attackers, I guess. I don't know. Again, I don't know as much about soccer as Moody does, but I have paid attention to a few things with this World Cup and some of the players. And I can just tell you, I think it's neat to see some of the stars in that sport be stars at the biggest level, because we haven't had that in past years. We've had teams be really good and the stars get bounced early, and you've got Messi actually doing things. Ronaldo, even though they lost, Ronaldo was part of the equation and was a big deal. You've got Captain America being a big deal. Mbappe is obviously the catalyst. Neymar, these names that are the names in soccer that people know are actually showing up and playing in this tournament and playing well. And I think that is key. That if it's going to be as big worldwide as it is, and for us in the U.S. to have interest, your superstars got to play like superstars. Because if we turn on one game and we watch a game and that superstar's name's not mentioned, we're immediately checked out. Yeah. And
Pele
the sport needs it. No,
he's eliminated.
It's a little better.
Pele's sick.
Changing places.
He's an old man.
Trey Turner was a Dodger. No longer. He goes and joins his old buddy Bryce Harper.
He want to go somewhere where they win.
And he is going to Philadelphia. And he is going to play shortstop for the Philadelphia Phillies, which is going to shake up a few things for the Phillies.
Isn't that where Stott plays?
Bryson Stott plays there.
But he can move over.
Yeah.
He can go to
I think you're going to see Stott moving over to second. Yeah. You're probably going to see them move
Segura,
yeah.
Which they're going to get a nice prospect haul back for Segura because he's a very nice player. He is borderline all-star caliber in the right place. don't be surprised if the team that comes knocking for that, and although they normally wouldn't do this, would be the Braves. Dansby Swanson is a free agent and probably not going to re-sign with the Braves, and so they're going to be looking for an opportunity and looking for something to make that.
Why would he not stay with the Braves?
He's the same
this
agent
point,
as Freddie Freeman anymore.
Yeah, and
so he's going to go somewhere else and cry about it?
That was messed up.
He's wanting more money. He's wanting more money than the Braves are going to want to put out for what his offense was. They would have paid, and Bogarts is still one that's kind of on their radar, and we'll see what happens. I think there's a dark horse out there in the shortstop race still. I think there's a team out there. It did get mentioned that all of a sudden the Padres came around kicking the tires on Trey Turner. I don't know if that was just to play with the Dodgers or not, but nevertheless, the Padres came and kicked tires on him.
I can see the Padres doing that just to piss off the
Well,
Dodgers.
the thought right now is that their plan is that the Padres at this point will start with Kim at shortstop this year, and when he is eligible and comes back, Tatis will go to the outfield. So
really,
the thought is that he supposedly, after got his suspension, they started working him in the outfield, and telling him to start doing that. So I think he may end up being an outfielder, which, I mean, is great for that team. It is going to be odd man out, which is going to be Will Myers.
Second baseman.
So Will Myers is going to go.
Second baseman for the Padres.
Second base for the Padres is, oh my gosh, if you hadn't asked me, I'd have been able to tell you. Oh my gosh. Why am I drawing a blank?
It has to be somebody good.
No
one can think of
Cronenworth, gosh.
Jake
Cronenworth.
Okay.
It's an all-star. I'm like, why can't I think of this? So because of that, that's going to be where that sits. Machado's not going anywhere. And Tatis isn't going to play first.
No.
Right? He's not going to play first. So at this point, and he's not a DH. He's athletic and has a cannon. Yeah. He's going to play in the outfield. And then you add him to Soto in the outfield. That could be a really, really interesting outfield play and move. And with them trading Robert Hassel, see, and this is the reason why they're doing it, they did not want to trade Hassel, but by trading Hassel to the Nationals for Soto, that opened up a long-term play in the outfield, and I think that gives them the best opportunity. So we'll see. There's this outside chance, though, that the Padres do make a move on one of these shortstops, and if they do, it's probably going to be Bogarts. I think that's who they're really targeting.
Who's going to go after?
The Padres going after Xander Bogaerts.
So they don't want Kim then?
Well, I would take Bogarts over Kim.
Yeah, I understand that.
So Kim would then become what he's been the first couple of years of his career. That he's still under rookie contract, so they're just going to roll with that. He's just coming off the bench. And
the Padres are going to look for any pitching here?
Well, they're going to have to. Padres are going to have to look
13-11.
They're not getting Verlander.
Well, I don't think they were. I don't think they were going to make that big play like that because they spent money last year, and they got Snell and they got these guys. I think that Mackenzie Gore coming. I think that they're expecting that he is, and Adrian Morjan is going to be someone that I think could end up being the fifth starter. So we'll see what happens with that team. Verlander is gone though. He is off the books, going to the Mets. So he's going to go team up with his good old buddy back to the Mets, and the Mets basically traded one, Cy Young for another. Verlander, top 5 pitcher in the league still, and to be able to take him in, the Mets gave him a lot of money. They gave him $38 million for 2 years with a vested option for a third, which means he's going to have the ability to pull the trigger for another $18 to $19 million a year. At his age,
this has got to be a joke too.
It's very surprising
with the Kate Upton thing. It's got to be right.
I would assume
what she said. Supposedly it said.
I'd rather her be like on something that
Kate Upton during an Esquire radio interview. I got to do some fact check on this. This might be fake, but she said we had a higher offer from the other New York team, but we wanted to go somewhere where the fans don't boo their own. Sorry, Hal.
I mean,
she's really feisty.
I hope she said it because that's great.
They're gonna love Mets fans are gonna love this Kate Upton, and she's like flicking off. I was like,
yeah. I mean, I hope she did say it too. That would be great. But she's absolutely right, which is why they're gonna lose Aaron Judge, I think, too, because the guy hit 62 home runs. They hit 62 home runs, and then they booed him in the playoffs because the guy had a little bit of a slump. Like, sorry, the dude carried you here.
Pretty much.
It's
They booed him.
We're going to see these other things, and I don't think the Judge thing is going to be too much longer. Whereas we waited for Harper a couple of years ago, all the way into training camp to sign. That is not going to be the case with Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge is going to be whatever team he's going to play for. He is going to be there. There were pictures of him apparently wearing Christian McCaffrey jersey. So who knows if that's an indication. What I do know is that in the past, when I have seen that happen, it 99% of the time ends up being the guy going and playing in that city.
Was it a Carolina McCaffrey?
No, he was definitely not wearing. He was definitely wearing the Niners.
23, 22.
So
that's weird that San Fran's the one going after him too.
Well, and here's the thing. So San Fran's
cool.
doing this, and San Fran. What's funny about San Fran is San Fran's doing this, and they're kind of, if they sign him, they're kind of going to have to rely on their farm system to really support around him, because they're tying up a bunch of money.
Yeah.
And they're losing a starting pitcher, right?
Getting more.
Because Rondon is the next. So the next name off the boards, for most of you who don't know, is going to be Rondon. Rondon is the next name off the board. When he comes off the board, whatever team he ends up with, it's going to be. And that's another guy that was kind of supposed to be. They were supposed to put some effort into.
I don't think the Giants care though. Like, to be honest with you, they're kind of like the Texas Rangers.
Yeah.
They went out and they made a big splash by getting Simeon and Seager last year, right? So they'll spend money, right? And then their team was garbage. So what do? They go out and get Jacob deGrom, who is 35 years old, and the guy's been an ace when he's healthy, right? Best pitcher in baseball when he's healthy, but he's 35 years old. They wouldn't give him a huge contract. So the Rangers and the Giants are kind of like the same type of team. I don't think they won't even bat an eye. They'll give Judge whatever he wants. It'll be the biggest contract in baseball, and
they'll be more than Trout.
Yeah, because he wants Trout type money. I think it's going to be more than Trout.
Yeah, it's going to be more yearly. It's just I think only going to be 8 years.
Yeah, I think it's going to be less years, but it'll be more
one
years.
of those 14, 15 years.
It's not Bobby Bonilla contract where they pay him.
Well, Bobby Bonilla is a genius.
$20.72, $1 million every year.
He's really crazy.
I love it, dude.
So we'll see him, and we'll get into more of the hot stove with Major League Baseball as we go here. But otherwise, this week there's some interesting matchups in the NFL that, depending on if guys play, if Tua plays, you've got Tua versus Herbert. You've got some nice matchups that should be fun.
He's going to play because is it on Sunday night or Monday Night Football?
I believe it's Sunday night.
He'll play.
So I think it was flex last week or something.
He'll play.
So, and then, it's starting to come down that you're starting to see the separation of who actually are contenders and who are not. There's a couple of teams. We don't know about the Patriots. We really don't know what we're getting there. We don't know what we're getting with the Jets, whether these guys are actually going to make the playoffs or not. What we do know is that teams like the Chargers and stuff are really showing that they probably don't belong the way that they've played. So I guess we'll see what's going to happen. But I think this week is going to be a real telltale sign.
Didn't they flex the Raiders game too?
They in 2 weeks they did. In 2 weeks they flexed the Patriots.
I just saw Raiders get flexed.
Yeah,
and see what
they flexed them out, and they're flexing Washington and the Giants in on Sunday night.
Go.
So
that would have been. I just realized that too. That we have season tickets. That would have been a lot more money.
Yeah,
that's
what I was just thinking.
Yeah,
right?
so
everybody here is season tickets.
Yeah, and then just so you know, because I'm a season ticket holder, and I'm gonna tell you guys, I did this. I did not have my my Niners tickets up. Last night, I went and put my Niners tickets up as the cheapest in the section, and sold them last night as soon as I saw Jimmy G got hurt, and they were gone instantly. But I did it because with Jimmy G being hurt, I just felt like I was going to lose a little bit of the premium match.
Maybe, but they'll still be good, and it's New Year's Day.
Yeah.
It's New Year's Day, dude. People are going to come for that weekend.
I know.
And they're going to roll in the party on the strip right into the Raiders game. And that game.
So I was holding them, thinking that I was going to go, and then I decided, you know what, I'm going to move because selling them at the bottom of it was still better than most of the games this season.
We'll talk off air, see how much it's
so
going for.
It was pretty good. So, guys, otherwise, we will see you guys next week. Next Monday, we'll be back with a whole new the GameDay Huddle, and you took us out. Well, yeah, there's gonna be some changes. We'll see.
Oh, we'll see.
Oh, you got to say that at
we'll
the
see.
end.
Changes that we don't know about.
Maybe not.
It's
Maybe,
like,
not.
it's fine.
We do know we got some basketball in there. I mean, I could be gone, guys. Let's be honest. I could be gone. I would not be surprised if Jimmy is in this chair next week and the two of you are here and yours right. Steve was actually right. It is 100% going to be different. I was sick this last week and out, and then yesterday I had a shift that didn't get covered that I was supposed to do, so I wouldn't be surprised. Anyways, all right, guys. It's fine.
The ups and
we will
downs
talk,
of the card shop.
Yeah,
Take 'em out.
the facts and truths. Dave, go ahead,
Let's
take
go
us out.
monster hunting.
Let's go, guys. We'll